What's good, everybody? This is Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. Which generations? Well, I represent one half. That is the Y, aka better known as the millennials. More on them later. The other half of that equation comes from that guy you see on the other side, the Z, Generation Z. They've got issues. We're going to get into some of them issues, but real quick, Xavier D. Lewis, how are you this week, my brother?
Hey, bro, we're amazing. We're pushing forward. Hey, man, summertime is upon us.
Almost.
It's right here. It's right at the cusp of it. I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for the summertime. I'm normally not ready for the summer, honestly. I'm not a big fan of warm weather, but I think this year's a little bit different, man. I got a couple plans in place to head out. She's head out there some more, and she's probably gonna come back here some more. So, you know things to make life amazing, right?
Well, I'm glad you're going to have an amazing life this summer, but you're a little early, and I'm not going to let you get me in trouble because I got two of these in my life currently. You're trying to get there because you got one, but I got two. Actually, technically, I got three because I got my mom, my mother-in-law, and my own wife, who I made a mother. So summer's not quite here yet. It's Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there.
Happy Mother's
You know,
Day. Thank y'all for everything you do.
yeah, he didn't think about you. He's just thinking about his own.
Hey.
Summertime. He already overlooking you. Hey, moms, I got you. I understand.
I'll
Happy
think about
Mother's
some
Day.
4th of July barbecue or some Juneteenth barbecue or something like that. That's in my head right now.
Slow down, young blood. And apparently that's something your generation needs to do a lot of, which we're about to get into. But like, share, subscribe. The timeline has been ablaze with everybody cheating, especially with Chat GPT and AI and all this mess. And apparently it turns out that your generation, yes, your generation, is literally on the verge of making us become an illiterate society who can't write or read because y'all are using Chat GPT to do every piece of thinking and assignment you have to do for school. There's an article in the description below. Check it out, read it. It's scary. And y'all can't write because everything you do is digital on the phone anyway. Bruh.
Let me start here by making this big disclaimer. I think AI methods are valid in collegiate settings.
Whoa, sir. Okay. Well. All right. Let's build up a little bit real quick because you, sir, we got the same amount of degrees, I believe. Correct?
Correct.
We're correct. Okay. So, how much cheating you do during your scholastic career, sir?
That defines what cheating is. Let me tell you why. Now, Chat GPT is still rarely new. I think
Fair.
I mean, at least it's still new to me. I'll put it like that. It's still
Fair.
rarely new to me.
According to the article, this Chat GPT really becomes a mainstream theme to where we're all used to it, and it's being plugged out there. January 2023 is what they're saying. So essentially,
okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. 23.
2 years, and low key, bro, it's scary how it's everywhere. So like,
I'm gonna tell you what the extent of my cheating was in college and in high school. Attempting to write something down on a piece of paper to refer to that is stuck in my pocket because you have to take tests in person.
now, sir, I'm gonna call a little BS on that.
Man, where?
No, here's why. Here's why. I'm grown. Back in my day,
Mhm.
listen, I've come up with the cheating. Not saying I generated, but really we've seen how the cheating has accelerated because yes,
Real.
elementary computers are in there. They're not really a big thing. Middle school computers are really kind of in the classroom. We're starting to use them, but it's a special thing. You're not really using it at home like that. We're still writing papers. Come high school, we're still turning in papers, handwritten. Maybe you typed it out and printed it out to then physically hand in. College was interesting because now you have what?
Computers.
Phones. And I'm not gonna lie. I loved. It was an old. This is back when you had it wasn't just Apple and Samsung. It was one of the Microsoft phones with the slide out screen that could then tilt upward, and you literally had the full keyboard. Let me tell you how in that I literally wrote papers on that hoe because you could. It was I could type on that just like
Ah,
anything
for
else.
real.
I had full documents on that thing, and there's a special crevice in the knee in my thigh area. That phone just would sit so nicely on, and you could dim the screen all the way down. You didn't need the brightness, so no glare or nothing. I got through. And then by the time I get to my third degree, which is in the late 2010s, early 2020s, so just because that's how we met. I'm not
Right,
hanging
right.
around with Gen Z on the regular. No, we met. Shouts out to Brandon Graham and the National Black NBA Association. Because I'm not Shannon Sharp or Bill Belichick out here. Chegg was a thing. I remember Chegg, so you would
Oh man,
nice
Chegg is.
online.
But would I even consider Chegg as cheating? Chegg and
Yes,
Quizlet,
Chegg is helping out. Chegg is getting
it's
information
helping. But
specifically.
I feel like Chat GPT is full on cheating. Let me tell you why.
That's the next level. Yeah.
Because it does it for you. Whereas before it was a crutch, now it's the full blown paper. Like it will write the full paper.
The
The full paper.
articles talk about you got students literally using Chat GPT to write the damn paper and not even reading it before they turn it in.
That is so wild. Let me tell you what I used to do in like my 10th, 11th grade class. My teacher would put a prompt on the board at the beginning of class. We would have 5 minutes to write a 5 paragraph essay on said topic because she just wanted us to be able to know how to write. One thing we know how to do is how to write. And we would write these essays out. And it was so crazy to think that nowadays they don't even know how to write.
And that's the thing. It's not the cheating. Like
every generation has cheated to some extent.
Get by how you got to get by.
Exactly.
Problem is that you put it now. It's in article states. Like you got to read if you haven't read this thing because
please do.
Popping on social media, I was like, "There's no way." It took me a minute to find the actual article where these little clips and photos that you think like it. I didn't believe it at first. Then I found the article. I was like, okay, this is actually real. The article talks about the issue is it's not necessarily the cheating. It's literally chat, as you put it, Chat GPT is doing the thinking for you. So now it's to the point y'all not even truly learning or understanding how to think. It's literally here. Like y'all don't want to think. Y'all can't problem solve. Y'all can't
critical thinking.
Critical thinking, understanding, which is the biggest issue now because we're at a point in society we need motherfuckers to understand and critically think so you can see what these people are trying to pull over your eyes. But y'all too dumb out here. Chat GPT, how do I make my bed today? Chat GPT, I got eggs, cheese, and some peppers. What can I make with that? Like, it's
crazy, bro. Now I don't want people to think this like now. For some people, Chat GPT is just doing what Google always did. You had a random question, you Google it. Okay, that's fine. You got a random question, whatever like that. No. That's what I grew up with. If I would have come to my mom, because she wanted us to develop our ability to be able to go and find answers. So if I were to go to our mom and be like, "Mom, such," she'd be like, "Look it up." And I used to be so pissed off. I'd be like, "But if you know the answer, why not tell me?" But she wanted me to learn how to go look stuff up, go and be able to inquire, develop my critical thinking skills. Correct. Exactly. Paired alongside what I was learning in school, critical thinking, put your thinking cap on. As elementary as it sounds, no one is putting their thinking cap on.
And y'all don't want to. Like,
it's crazy.
The hypocrisy was crazy in the article where literally one student was like, yeah, Chat GPT is cheating. Said student literally turns around to use Chat GPT to write an article where the article is literally based on what technology is doing to education. It is asinine to know, because here, let's put it this way. Here's what it is. I know crack is bad. Oh, there's some crack. Whoa, you just told me crack is bad. Yeah, it's bad.
I'm going to tell you what, but this is going to have to change the game for the educational system. And I'm gonna be honest.
Can we not go there yet? I want to go there. That's an
Okay.
interesting turn. I want to spend some time there because that's interesting. But let's just sit in the problem for a second longer because this is what's scary. It's not about the AI replacing the jobs, right? No, it's literally as you put it. You put it. Here's why I was saying no. Chat GPT is not like Google. Google is closer to the library than Chat GPT is to
Yes.
Google because yes, just like as you said, it's a skill. Okay, even if you're using Google, the
You got to
question
know how to look at what you're looking at.
how to look at something. How do I know whether this is a good source? How do I know whether this is not some misinformation? How do I know this is credible, quality? Like, and part of school was learning all those ways. Like, I remember the whole thing with internet.
Yes, I remember that.
Just don't believe every .com. It should be a
Right, right.
.edu, maybe a
.org.
.org, or
Yeah.
maybe .net. But you're just not believing every .com.
.com. Right, right.
When was it published? All these things that make something credible. To then for me to take all these different ideas based on a question and information and putting together my own thoughts and beliefs based off a bunch of information that I have collected. Great. That is critical thinking. That's what you need. ChatGPT isn't even allowing you to critical think because now it's putting out everybody else's thoughts. And the scary thing is ChatGPT is essentially a big circle jerk because at least the potential is where if I'm corrugating all these different resources or getting all these different points from different credible sources to back up my own thoughts, theories, and beliefs, there's new information or new things I can possibly put out there versus ChatGPT can't create nothing new. It's just regurgitating what is already out there. So now we're not even pressing things forward. We're literally sitting in the same stink continuously over and over and over again to where everybody's been saying the same stuff. It's going to get multiplied even worse because now everybody's going to be saying the same stuff based off the same stuff and nobody's adding anything new to it.
I'm gonna tell you for me, where the biggest fear comes in, and this is already a credible fear that we see within my generation. I think it all just needs to be correlated. If if the usage of AI is now within the educational system, people, we saw you're Gen Y, I'm Gen Z. Gen X most definitely were outraged by one thing in the educational system, the removal of home econ, because
Mm-hmm.
they felt like the removal of home econ could make very smart people, but they wouldn't know how to manage home items. They wouldn't know how to do everyday things.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that the digression of the ability to be able to do household tasks as you progressed away from the home econ era. But what gets me the most is now you're going to have a generation of people, my generation mostly, they're going to be chat GPTing. How do I mop my floors? How do I do my dishes? How do I wash clothes?
What's good for my grass? Idiocracy is literally going to become reality in front of like I tweeted out there like it's no longer just a satire, it's literally becoming our future. And this is one of the ways because then you add on top of it all the ways they're trying to dismantle education and
It's
y'all are just trying
crazy.
to skirt your way through by every way, shape, or form, which everybody has always skirted. I don't Yes, but now the methods are we used to have to critically think on how to skirt. So literally
Correct.
now you're not even critically thinking about how to cheat. It's just there.
And
Um,
don't get me wrong, I think, technology is on both ends are going to have to correlate one another, right? On one end, you might have Chat GPT running the work, writing the paper, but then you have to develop technology on the other end to make sure that the people that's submitting the work that is not a Chat GPT made, paper that they're writing, all that kind of stuff. Like technology on both sides has to be able to keep up with each other. But at the end of the day, that's still hurting the student. They're not critically thinking. They don't understand the ability to be able to say, hey, I ingested this information. Let me formulate a new thought based on what I wrote, based on what I read. Let me write it a few
let
times.
me actually
This is
understand
my
it.
first draft.
Let me
This is
understand
the
it.
second draft.
I have to actually understand what somebody else is saying to then corrugate my own thoughts and opinions on it.
Exactly. Asking questions. I think we ask all the questions to the AI, forgetting that people have answers too. If I'm sitting in a class and I have a question about what I just read because I didn't understand it fully, I'm gonna ask some questions. You better believe I be sitting in classes now, and if I read something throughout the week in the chapter or something like that, they be like, Xavier got questions. Yes, it is. Xavier got questions.
I always
If I
got
don't
questions.
understand it fully, you better
Always.
believe before I leave up out of here, I am. And if I didn't, that's where we used to go to Chig. That's where we used to go to Quizlet to further get understanding.
To
If
help me
our
figure out.
teacher or something like that didn't give us the best amount of understanding, or the notebook, the textbook didn't make it completely plain.
Let's put it this way. Take Chegg, for example.
Right.
You still had to understand to an extent how to apply that answer to your answer, or even if it was the same answer, understand how this should be answered. Again, that critical thinking portion. Now Chegg is just like, yeah, here's the answer, and these folks are like, yep, sure, and it's gonna be, hey, what's 1 + 1? 7. Okay, and that's
It's so crazy. I remember very specifically. I used to, and let's just say it was like a math test or something like that, or like math homework. Because, like I said, like I'm gonna just keep going on this. Tests were something that we did in class. Like the whole idea, maybe that was just like a South thing, but even in college, for the most part, we would have to come and take our test in person. Or even if we did after like the COVID age, they would have us do the lockdown browser where it would be recording you and all that.
ooh,
Bull.
I,
Bull
I had to
crap.
I had to apply some critical thinking to lockdown.
Man, do you hear me? Trying to figure out, man, how do I get this camera to not recognize me?
Angles,
Bruh, using multiple monitors.
understanding what is in. Anywho, once again, critical thinking. Let's get to your question one second after I make this point, is because you brought up math.
Yeah.
I used to hate math because I was one of those people where, the whole, you got to show your work. How did you get to this answer? And I was one of those people, if I could see it and got the answer, cool. I used to hate demonstrating the work. It wasn't until I took a class in my freshman year in college called abstract algebra, because my father was kind of pushing me a little bit to go a math minor. Abstract algebra is math with no numbers. No numbers. It is all critical thinking and concepts about how to apply different things of logic to anything. It could be a bunch of remote controls. They all going to like, but great, because it expanded my mind on critical thinking and really was like an open, like a wow, okay. And I say it to say that's what's critical, because yes, it's the critical. It's not just about the answer. It's not even sometimes just about
Right.
the work. It's the critical thinking about the whole damn process. Now, you did open the door talking about solutions, and I want to shift that way because that came up to me while reading the article as well. Because yes, this is a problem, but it's a different problem than we've ever faced before, because now it's this shit.
Correct.
Every innovation, you still had to critical think. Okay, cool. It's a new piece of machinery, new tech. How do I use it? How to apply it? It doesn't replace what I'm doing up here. Chat GPT, as we're seeing with your generation and some folks,
It's
literally,
replacing it.
they're like, hey, if I can turn off my brain, great. Scary. I think the interesting and a possibly exciting thing, if we could ever really take advantage of it, is yes, now it is time to reshape education, because it has been about standardized testing, yada, 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 which we all know is racist, which we all know is now becomes, it's not truly about learning. It's how to
Yes.
ingest this stuff to pass the test or simply get the grade. Because as we saw in the article, a lot of the students were like, yeah, I'm getting good grades. Oh, I can't blame you, because you're supposed to get the grade. That's how
Right.
we do to push folk forward. So here's one thing right now I'll say is start failing motherfuckers. Let's stop
Oh, the
pushing
No
motherfuckers.
Child Left By it,
Let's
and this
start
was
failing some folks.
placed, it was placed into like, mass education when I was coming up.
There's no
I
child.
think
Yeah.
the big change happened when, at least in my area, when I
Yeah.
was
No.
around like the
Yeah.
fifth grade, that's when it started. That No Child Left Behind BS, leave them
Left,
kids behind.
left some kids behind. And we need to purposely be like, no, little Johnny, you can't read or write. You don't need to graduate high school. You
You're
should
gonna
have
be
graduated before
16
you
in the
got here.
sixth grade messing around with me.
Like, unfortunately, we want to get real with it. One of the easy things is yes, stop coddling these motherfuckers. Because even it's talking about how professors have literally given up, talking about, yeah, I can tell, or it's there. I'm literally being told, how do I grade this? And they some interesting conundrums. Start failing motherfuckers. You
Yeah.
don't meet the mark. You don't do the work. You're not moving on.
I
The
agree.
fact that we're really worried about that we have kids out here now who have graduated in the last couple of years, and we've heard a lot of stories starting to pop up about little Susie, who's now got her job and she done graduated with honors but can't read or write.
She doesn't know the difference between gross and net pay.
We now understand why there, and there is kicking y'all's ass on social media.
Oh, if you want a prime example of the failure of this style of educational system, scroll on Twitter and scroll on Facebook.
And here's the one that really I get mad every time I see these, especially because one, remember, former math minor, solve this equation, and people do not understand. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Oh no.
PEDMAS, which you learn early, which means y'all just being dumb for a long time. Because I be seeing these answers talking about, oh, there's a division sign here. We should just rewrite the problem as a fraction. No, no, no. You write the problem how it's solved, not how you'd like it to be written, not how you're comfortable with it, not how you think about the one way you know how to solve it. No, these lack of parentheses and order of equations is messing motherfuckers up because y'all don't know how to critical think.
I'm gonna tell you what I think really needs to start happening. You still need some type of you need a benchmark in order to be able to see whether or not a person has successfully mastered a skill or successfully mastered the objective.
Agreed.
Everything needs to start turning verbal. You could chat GPT a paper, but you can't chat GPT a verbal presentation that you have to get up there and speak.
That was a question. I was like, does nobody have to give presentations no more?
You can chat GPT that PowerPoint that's going on that screen. You can chat GPT that. But you about to get up here and speak about what we were supposed to be doing. Let me tell you something. It used to get me in college in them business classes, people who was making all A's on their test. Come time for us to do our final presentation. And I'd be like, not Mr. I done made A's, not Miss I got A's all semester, and you up there can't even give a public presentation. With no notes in your hand.
With the notes in the hand, they still be
you just reading off the screen word for word. I think one major answer here is it's gonna take time and effort to do away with this degrading sense of critical thinking.
And a big part of it is the racism.
Yes.
That's got to be solved. Put that aside. We know that. Classism. Put that aside. Pay these actual teachers, sure. But I think really we're focusing on the actual what is the because right now the goal of education has been learn this material, pass this test, and you move on. And that's not been working. And I think part of the problem is we can't agree on what we're trying to educate. Because we've had all these things that keep moving, and also one of the things is how much do you actually need to learn? Because I think about it here. Just think about when we were in school. I was in high school in the early 2000s, so high school history classes essentially ended for me, or my forced history ended in the early 2000s. We've had 20 years of history since that, and a lot of history. I'm sure there was history you're learning about that we weren't being talked about simply because it's now had happened. 10 more years have happened. And now you're in school. So we're seeing more effects of 9/11. We're seeing the whole economic stuff of the early 2000s and impact. I'm sure you're learning something about that. Or possibly it could be the same issue that I had in school was we're just learning about the fucking Renaissance and medieval times and all these.
Oh, no. That hasn't changed.
White people think they were great. And we get up to like we get up to World War II, and then nothing else ever happened after. Brief mentioning of the civil rights era in the 60s. You definitely got to talk about the hippies and what happened in the 70s because they love that without actually talking about some of the bad stuff. But you don't get into Reagan. You don't get into crack and it's all
no. I will say
you wanted to get into, and we didn't. I know we didn't get into that during my time. Maybe it changed a little bit for you.
It kind of did a little bit there. I remember, I took so many world history classes. I took world history. I took AP US history. I just all of these different kind of stuff just for like why? You know, it's some now, but I will say a lot of the things were not about learning the knowledge, but it was all about developing the skills. I mean, the major skills that we learned in AP US history, or like, just taking AP world history.
The facts.
You
It's the
learned how to
facts.
write, bro.
It's the big
You
facts.
It's the big facts. You have to learn how to ingest the big facts and write about them. It taught you critical thinking. And you know what, crazy enough? For years, I was like, why in the world did I take AP US history? Like, even when I got to college, everybody else was taking biology. Because if you was a business major, you didn't necessarily have to take advanced sciences or anything like that. You could have just took biology and then that was it. But
Mhm.
I was like, no, I'm going to take chemistry. Why did I do
To be
that?
a well-rounded individual.
Exactly, man. It
To at least
was,
have some basis of understanding of how elements and stuff work. Yeah, we have to come to a consensus about what we need in terms of what is a proper education now. Because yeah, I think it's to the point where we were so relied on what education had been established as.
yeah,
Let's put it realistically in the 1800s,
let's be real. If we being real,
possibly even some of these schools, the 1700s. Yeah, we're looking at you, College of William and Mary, your Rutgers. So we're on this old ass tradition and way of learning that is particularly, especially we know as melanin people, Eurocentric focused methods, which aren't necessarily the best
because all it does is prepare you for the workforce.
for the workforce, which has changed so much drastically. We don't know what the workers need to be. So we don't know how to train you. Because yeah, let's put this way, yeah, we were training you to be a worker. That's what education has been.
Yes, yes.
Training you to be a worker.
I
And right now,
always
they
thought
don't
about
want
it when I
workers to
was
be smart.
younger.
They don't
I
want
was
workers to be
like,
smart.
how in the world am I getting up at the break of dawn to go to school? I get lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning just to go the rest of the day till about 2 or 3, go back home, have to, you know what I'm saying? It was like, I said, man, this is very formulaic of a 9 to 5.
Well, take it to an extent like this. Back in the day, little Johnny needed his mind and to be able to critically think on how to run this big ass machine in this factory. You needed people to be able to actually understand how to run these things. And so that's why we used to see a lot of auto shop and home ec and yada, yada, yada. And things have changed as you get the point.
Right.
Now, you don't need little Johnny to think about how to run this machine because his finger's not going to get caught in it and cut up or what's dangerous. No, we're not worried about that. You just need little Johnny to possibly sit in front of a screen and press a button. I don't need little Johnny to think. I don't want little Johnny to think.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
Johnny to understand what he may be actually seeing in front of his screen. So they're continuing to train the workforce, but the workforce doesn't need to be intelligent or actually able to critically think.
Yeah.
Just scary.
It
Again,
becomes, I
idiocracy.
think that the question becomes like, what is now the definition of academic integrity?
I mean, has there ever really truly been it? Because we have always seen you for decades, years. This goes
Decades.
beyond our generations. People will manipulate things in any which way they need to get where they
Yes.
need to be, and we see that's how a lot of you know these racist systems of
All
power
righty.
have kept in place.
That's how they thrive, bro,
That's how
for
they
lack of
thrive. It's
integrity.
little Johnny ain't doing as good as Shaniqua. We have to find a way to keep Shaniqua down so little Johnny can get up here. Well, and now it's to the point, yeah, we don't need anybody doing nothing. And I the it can be fixed. Let's say that. But as we've seen with a lot of stuff in America, we don't want to actually fix it because fixing it would require fixing a lot of shit that we don't want
Right.
to deal with.
Right.
And it actually takes time, work, and effort. And nobody want to do that. Like we don't get to the point. We're gonna be sitting here again, idiocracy. Chat GPT. How do I wash my ass?
It's crazy, bro.
Chat GPT. How often should I breathe? Chat GPT. Remind me when to breathe. It I'll
It's
stop us from getting in it.
crazy.
Because at this point, I have no faith. No faith No faith. It's,
Critical thinking has left the building.
no, it has. It really has. And I don't know if it's going to come back because we see who's in the office right now, and does not know how to critically think himself.
Oh no.
Thinking Alex Ovechkin is a great Canadian player, and he's actually from his friend's neighborhood back in Russia. Critically thinking is just who needs to critically think when I can just say something now and it doesn't mean anything 5 minutes from now.
Yeah.
I weep. This is like that is scary. That is scary. We're dealing with idiots. Your doctor can't read.
That is going to be so scary.
Because at some point, those who can are going to be gone. At some point, those who can are going to be gone, or those who can are going to be in such a minority that they can't address the people out. Like, there's already talk about not enough doctors, not enough, like,
right.
It's going to get worse simply because motherfuckers are too dumb to do the jobs.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's Y and Z. A conversation between the generations.
Where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? I don't know. And as a parent with a kid going into second grade next year, we stay on top of his ass because no, son, you are going to critically think. And it's random because his homework be pissing me off. And I'm sure there's some dumb motherfuckers who can't read or write putting out this homework because he's been doing this reading homework. Was like, what's the problem? How did it get solved? And the story is presenting like 3 or 4 different problems itself, or it's not really putting out a solution. I'm like, he's 6. What is he supposed to get out of here? You're not making it clear and simple for him. And I'm like, me as a MBA educated grown ass man getting close to his 40s, I can't figure out some of this stuff. So the idiots are designing the homework too. Now, let me get out of here because I'm just
the AI is designing the homework too.
Talking about if Johnny got 5 apples and he eats 3, how many oranges does he have?
Oranges weren't mentioned.
I literally had a problem like that on my son's homework one time, and I was like, "Where the fuck are the oranges? Why the fuck are you giving all this information about apples and then asking about oranges?" I asked the teacher, I was like, what is this? What is he supposed to do with this? He's over here having a fit, going mental because he can't figure it out because you literally put an impossible problem on his paper. And then all y'all mental issues, not like it's I'm tired. This is getting ridiculous. And y'all too dumb to be able to handle it.
Nah, for real.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Old man rants. Pray for me. Pray for these people because I got my degree. This right there. And I can read the words. I know what the words say.
I got all my stuff right up there.
There you go. I can read. What's scary is we're going to have motherfuckers with degrees out here going to be like, what'd you get your degree? Huh? Oh, I don't know.
Huh?
Did you read it? No, I got my degree.
It'll be a sad day. Sad day.
It's sad. It's sad and it's scary. The children used to be the future, and the future's looking bleak. You'll be around for longer, for more of it than I would. Thank you. Thankfully.
That's if I don't get dual citizenship in another country.
I ain't mad at you. I tried it. It's not as easy as you think.
Oh, it's not easy at all. I've already looked into the processes.
6 days. It's another story for another time. Y and Z, conversation between the generations. J. Clark 787. Oh, not saving. It's J. Clark 787. Let me pronounce my words as an educated man. Xavier D. Lewis over there. on all the. So actually, he's like 50, whatever. Just type in Xavier Lewis, and I'm sure in one of the
You'll
different
find it.
it'll pop up. But yeah, continue to think, my young brother. Use that mind. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and Gen Z likes to waste. Until then.
Peace.